A warm welcome to each and every one here tonight. I'm honored you've chosen to join us at the New Israel Fund's Guardian of Democracy dinner. I'll begin by telling you how my journey as an activist unfolded. On my first trip to Israel in the 70s, I visited the cave of Machpelah, Abraham and Sarah's tomb, sacred to Jews and Muslims. I listened to an Israeli Jew relay the Jewish version of the history. As I was leaving, I overheard a Palestinian guide tell a different story of Machpelah, and I was struck by how the Arab narrative of Abraham and Sarah was just as believable as the Jewish one. The difference was that I knew the Jewish narrative. It was my people's story. But did that make it the only truth? If there could be two equally plausible narratives of Machpelah, might there be other realities I hadn't considered, other stories I hadn't been open to hearing? This possibility was too big and threatening for me to confront at that time, so I didn't. Years later, I was walking with a trusted Christian friend, and he revealed that he'd written a textbook on the Palestinian people. As he described the Palestinian history, I was stunned. The contrast with the Jewish version was almost unbearable for me to hear. After much resistance, I reluctantly agreed to read his book and began a journey to educate myself about the other and a more complex Middle East narrative. This was anxiety-producing and destabilizing at best. The ground was shifting and my perspective of the world was changing. A compelling desire to understand multiple perspectives and support the voices of the powerless and unheard emerged and would serve as the guiding principles in my work for the next 20 years. About this time, I came across a passage from Genesis, chapter 18, verse 19. After God charges Abraham to go forth and make a great nation, comes the phrase, la'asot tzedakah u'mishpat, extend the boundaries of righteousness and justice in the world. This led me to embrace being a Jew in a new way by becoming more fully engaged in the world. I chose to do this by becoming an activist. My passion for justice and human rights flowed from deep Jewish roots and a strong empathetic concern for all human beings. My intense desire to open to the experience of others and to direct my compassion through an informed response to work for the benefit of others led me to the Global Fund for Women. A client I was counseling while at SRI International, a Menlo Park think tank, introduced me to the Global Fund for Women, the largest grant maker exclusively funding human rights for women and girls in more than 170 countries. The Global Fund became my mothership. It taught me that women all over the world, including the Middle East, have creative, strategic solutions to seemingly insurmountable problems. It showed me time and time again that women's voices, our voices, need to be heard and included at decision-making tables. On the board of the Global Fund for Women, I met Sumaya Farha Nasser, a Palestinian botany professor and a passionate peace activist. She was the first Palestinian I connected to on a heart level, a sister with whom I could struggle about Palestine and Israel. We felt safe with one another and we built trust. She told me what it was like to live under occupation, and I heard her. One evening, shortly after beginning my work with the Global Fund for Women, I was walking in my San Francisco neighborhood and came across a party, a fundraiser for an organization called the New Israel Fund. I was invited in, and within minutes, I had found another organization with deeply heartfelt values that matched my own. I soon learned that NIF would offer me a place to deepen my understanding of Israel. When I get frustrated with the Israeli government's policies and behaviors, NIF helps me make sense out of some of those contradictions. NIF believes Israel can be a democracy for all its people. NIF funds organizations that share my values of economic and social justice. NIF doesn't defend unjust behavior just because it's our behavior. Instead, time Time after time, NIF makes the hard calls. It challenges many of our long-held but unexamined beliefs. It holds a mirror to Israel's choices through its grant-making, even when it's uncomfortable to do so. These ideals that I find so compelling in NIF encompass the concerns of today's Jewish young adults, like many of you here tonight. You question Israel's positions and policies. You want open, frank discussions. You crave peace. You admire groups and governments that want Israel to withdraw from occupied land. The Zionism you find appealing recognizes that Palestinians deserve dignity and are capable of peace. You're willing to challenge an Israel government that disagrees. The only Zionism that makes sense to you is the kind that America's traditional Jewish establishment has worked against for decades. Instead, you embrace the defining values of American culture, a belief in open debate, skepticism regarding the use of military force, and a commitment to human rights. Many young people here tonight, and many more who aren't here, find Israel too complicated, contradictory, and confusing. You find it easier to do extraordinary things elsewhere. You work to stop violence in the Congo with the Global Fund for Women. You advance human rights on American Jewish World Service trips to India. You support workers' rights in the Progressive Jewish Alliance. You've learned in Facing History in Ourselves classrooms to recognize how discrimination starts and how to stand up to injustice when you see it. Please continue to do this crucial work around the world, but also extend your compassion, activism, and commitment to Israel. Why? Because if you're Jewish, what goes on in Israel, both good and bad, is done in your name. If you care about social justice, do not ignore Israel because it's painful or embarrassing. If you want Israel to be a pluralistic, just society for all, you need to help move it in that direction. Help us and other organizations to be less frightened to promote real human rights in Israel. Show us how to stand up to injustice, to be less afraid of being called self-hating Jews because we disagree with Israel's policies and actions. Help us see Israel not as a victim, but as a powerful country beset by very real enemies, but with options that are not limited to the military, fear-based, short-sighted actions we see too often. Help Israel craft a better, morally evolved future. Urge us to harness your idealism to fuel what can be. Moses didn't enter the promised land, and we need your generation to lead us to fulfill Israel's potential. This journey will be challenging. Activism is not easy, and you need not do this alone. Please, walk with me. Fortunately, many like-minded individuals, some sitting here tonight, and effective organizations like NIF share your deepest values. We can work together for social justice and civil rights in Israel. Look around the room and people at your table. We thank those who underwrote 10 tables of young adults and activists and 2 tables of progressive Christians. We welcome, thank you. We welcome all of you and your wisdom about peace and justice in the Middle East. If we are to make progress, we must all take off our blinders and leave our silos. Those doing interfaith work deeply understand this. They also understand the complexity of this work. We need kindred spirits on our journey. I would like to thank my sisters in the Women Donors Network, a U.S. membership group of 150 donor activists who build trusting relationships in a network of women who are committed to building the progressive movement to effect systemic, sustainable change through the power of philanthropy, women's leadership, and action. Exactly 1 year ago today, 15 of us, Christians and Jews, and WDN's Middle East Peace Group took a trip that changed us. we went to Israel and the West Bank to better understand their two very compelling, opposing, and painful narratives. The day we were admitted to Gaza through Israel will be etched in my mind forever. My WDN sisters, I couldn't have done this without the support of your amazing minds, hearts, and souls. I've also had unwavering support from my husband Bruce and my sons Edward and Zach, who understood that vacations often included time with human rights groups. I thank them for their encouragement, trust, and patience. As you leave here tonight, start your journey. Explore both sides of the Israel-Palestinian conflict, but not alone. Find colleagues. Take one step at a time. Be open to new ideas and people. Breathe deeply. So how can you begin a more informed relationship with Israel? There are many choices. Read Sandy Tolan's book, The Lemon Tree, about two families, one Arab and one Jewish, and how land is central to both. Join one of Len and Libby Traubman's Jewish-Muslim Bay Area dialogue groups to meet Palestinians in a safe and welcoming environment. Take an NIF trip to Israel. See Budrus, the award-winning documentary on the Palestinian nonviolent movement. Join Rabbi Melissa Weintraub for a tour of the West Bank. Join J Street to work through Congress to support a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Call the NIF office in San Francisco to learn more about the New Gen group. Call me for more ideas. But no matter what, and I mean it, no matter what you choose, I ask of you one thing: do not give up. Don't believe you cannot make a difference because you're an American, an activist, a Christian, a member of the LGBT community, a young adult, a woman, a non-observant Jew, or a secular Jew. Israel needs all of us to create a more just and peaceful existence. When I'm discouraged by the enormity of the work, I turn to a contemporary version of a verse from the prophet Micah and from Pirkei Avot. It renews my spirit and gives me the strength to continue. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Do mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obliged to complete the work, nor are you free to abandon it. I leave you with these words, but the real ending to this speech is yours to write for all you've done and all you're about to do. Thank you.